Hello students, today we will discuss lesson number 13 of history, the Second World War. Time period of this World War was 1939 to 1945. So let us start with this chapter. The Second World War. When the First World War ended in November 1918, people all over the world heaved a sigh of relief. So when First World War ended in the year of 1918, so all over the world means the people of the entire world, they just feel relaxed. But 20 years later, nations were stunned when the world was plunged into a terrible war that resulted in the loss of millions of human lives and billions of dollars. But now, after 20 years, all the world or the entire world, it was just shocked because again they were there in another world war, and that was really a terrible war with the so many, I mean millions of human lives were lost and billions of dollars, means really very destructive war this Second World War was. After the close of First World War, the League of Nations was formed, and the leading nations of the world had agreed that all international disputes would be settled by peaceful means. So after First World War, the international organization that was founded, so all were agreed that they will settle down their disputes by peaceful means only, and they pledged that they would work together for the preservation of world peace. But in the years that followed, many such events happened as led to the outbreak of the Second World War. So even when we were having this international organization, even when nations pledged for the sake of world peace, still this Second World War was started. So let us begin with the causes of this Second World War. Causes. First cause, decline of democracy and revival of aggressive nationalism. As a result of the First World War, there was an economic crisis in the various nations of the world. Large scale food shortage, inflation means increase in the prices, and unemployment were the major issues that were faced by the nations. So it means nations after First World War, nations were having lack of food, lack of money, lack of employment, and the democratic government in Europe were not able to face the challenges and problems effectively. So democracies were not successful at all. Because of widespread corruption and nepotism, people lost faith in the democratically elected government. Because in democratic governments, the elected persons, they were using their power unfairly, means they were misusing their powers, and just because of the corruption, just because of their this wrong attitude, people were not having any kind of faith in their that elected government, and the dictators, taking advantage of the situation, offered a program of aggressive nationalism to build up support for the respective parties. So now it was the time for the dictators. So now, because democratic government or democracy was not successful, now they just use this chance, and they started to put in the minds of their countrymen the aggressive nationalism. And with this aggressive nationalism, they were getting support for their party also, means for their dictatorship also. So this was the first cause. Second is the Treaty of Versailles. In detail we have done when we were doing First World War. Everything we have already done. So same is given here, that this treaty of Versailles, that was peace treaty after First World War, and according to this treaty of Versailles, German was received all the aggressions, all the losses from the entire world, and only losses were there for Germany. Means everything, his money, his sources that were there, as a Germany was the only responsible for that First World War. Then his means German's army was reduced. Only in army soldiers Germany can have up to 1 lakh, and 15,000 men in navy and air force was banned. Means all the things were against Germany under this Treaty of Versailles, and because of all these wrongs done with Germany, it was the time for Hitler, because he was from Germany. Sorry, Nazism started in Germany because Hitler was there. He was one man leader actually. All the power he knew how to control. So he started his own ideologies in Germany. Nazism was started there, aggression was started there, and Hitler just broke down the Treaty of Versailles. He started to increase his armament, soldiers, everything, and that Treaty of Versailles was the main reason for this Second World War, because Treaty of Versailles itself sowed the seeds of Second World War. Okay, then third point is rise of fascism in Italy. In Germany, it was Nazism, and the leader or dictator was Hitler. And in Italy, fascism was started. Italy had to spend a lot of money during the war on her army and war equipments. She was groaning under a heavy debt. Italian government was faced with the serious problem of poverty, hunger, diseases, and unemployment. So, due to First World War, Italy was under debts, and all the problems, hunger, poverty, diseases, unemployment was there. And riots and strikes broke out all over the country. In the situation of general lawlessness, the fascists seized power in Italy. Just due to this or this kind of problem, in Italy, fascism was started. And they had an imperialistic outlook. Italy turned towards Germany and Japan and concluded a treaty of friendship, because all this particular area they were facing same kind of problems after First World War. So now they just made a treaty of friendship, leading a Berlin Rome Tokyo axis in opposition to the Franco British alliances. So they were against the British or Franco British alliances, and in 1940 Italy entered the World War II. So this was the time when Italy involved in this Second World War. Fourth is the Nazi regime's acts of aggression. So already I told that Nazism was started in Germany and Hitler was that leader. So Hitler preached the gospels of the victorious sword. So as I told you, he was one man that was holding the power or know how to control the power. So here the man's control over power is his gospels. And he broke the bound of Treaty of Versailles and began to build up Germany's armed forces. In March 1936, Hitler made his first move to occupy Rhineland that had been demilitarized by the Treaty of Versailles. He then captured Vienna, the capital of Austria. Soon he turned his attention to the conquest of Sudetenland. So it means all the areas that were captured from Germany, now Hitler started to regain those areas. The war seemed inevitable, so it was sure that that Second World War will be there. No one was there who can stop that. And the heads of four nations, who were those four nations? Germany, Italy, Britain, and France, met at Munich on 29 September 1938 and decided to hand over Sudetenland to Germany. Just to avoid the Second World War, these four powers met and they decided that they will give this area to Germany. President of Czechoslovakia was persuaded to accept the Munich Pact in the interest of peace. Just for the sake of peace, this agreement was accepted. Hitler's troops occupied Sudetenland on 5th October 1938. In March 1939, Germany invaded the rest of Czechoslovakia without any justification. But Germany was not stopped there. Germany started to conquer other land portions even without giving any kind of justification. Then policy of appeasement is not there this time. Our next cause of this Second World War was failure of League of Nations. So as League of Nations was established after First World War but not successful. One of the main cause of the Second World War, the failure of League of Nations, when weaker nations appealed to the League to take action against aggressors. The only weapon that was available with the League was the economic sanctions. So, whenever any weak country was there in some kind of a bad situation or due to other powerful nation, they were having some kind of problems. That time, this League of Nations was having only one weapon, that was economic sanctions. But when we are talking about the developed countries, it was not a kind of effect over them. So, but they proved ineffective against determined aggressors. Had League of Nations take collective action against Italy's aggression in Ethiopia or Japan's invasions of Manchuria, the world would have been spared the horror of another war, because this League of Nations was not capable to put a check over the aggressive actions. So it means there was the danger of another Second World War. And the League failed in taking action against aggressors, which encouraged Germany to occupy Austria and attack Poland, which ultimately led to the Second World War. Because this League was failed, he was not capable to put a check to Germans' increasing power and to put a check when German was attacking and occupying the area of other land portions like Austria and Poland. So when this league was failed in its task, so this was the time of Second World War, because German was gaining the power and there was none kind of any international organization, even League of Nations was failed to put a check. So this World War was sure now. And next point is Japan's invasion of China. An important act of aggression after the First World War was the invasion of China by Japan in 1931. China appealed to the League of Nations to declare sanctions against Japan. So when Japan started aggressive actions against China and China appealed uh, to this League of Nations so that they can put a check, but but League was failed, and Britain and France, the leading member of the League, did not give any attention to the appeal. Thus Japan occupied Manchuria and set up a government there. So finally Japan occupied that area, and in 1933 Japan left the League of Nations and started occupying the British and American properties in China. So now this started to move further and started to capture the land portion or the area that were under the control of British and American properties in China. And Britain and France followed the policy of appeasement. Again, they were with the policy to please only for the sake of world peace, thinking that the Japanese could be used to weaken China. And other thing that was there in their mind, that in this way Japanese can make this China weak, because China was also very powerful country in those days, even in modern time also. Next is the ideological differences. Countries such as USA, Britain, and France are known as solid stronghold of a liberal democracy. And there have been periodic elections in these countries, means timely elections were going on there. On the other hand, the political system of Italy or Germany was dominated by one political party. So here in USA, Britain, and France, proper elections were going on, liberal democracies were there. But on the other hand, in Germany and Italy, it was a dominating one political party system, means a kind of dictatorship was there. And there were no election allowed in Germany during Hitler's rule, and even when Hitler's rule was there, none kind of elections were allowed. And Mussolini himself admitted quite openly that the struggle between the two worlds can permit no compromise, and either we or they. So this was his clear declaration. So when world is there or two powers are struggling, and they will not permit any kind of compromise, either they or either the second one will survive. And moreover, the Axis states had expansionist aim. Therefore, the war between the two camps was inevitable. So world was divided into two camps, and the war was final there, and no one was there who can stop this war. And the last one is the immediate cause: invasion of Poland and demand for Danzig corridor. Hitler was demanding Danzig corridor for two reasons. So he was also having reason behind his demand for this. First was the city of Danzig was inhabited mainly by German, because mainly Germans were there. This was the place inhabited by Germans. And second, by occupying the Danzig corridor, he could connect East Prussia with Germany. Britain and France could realize the danger that lay ahead. They pledged assistance to Poland against German aggression. So here they assist Poland. And Russia shared a long frontier with Poland. So here reason was there why they were assisting to Poland. Russia was having long frontier with Poland, and she could directly come to the aid of Poland in case she was attacked by Germany. Therefore, in August 1939, Germany signed a non-aggression pact with Russia. There was also a secret understanding between the two powers. So the two powers are that time Russia and Germany, and to divide Poland into two parts, the distribution of these parts among themselves. So finally, they came to a conclusion that they can divide this Poland between themselves, means between Russia and Germany. And Poland was accused of committing atrocities against German living there. Why? Because Poland was accused that the cruel actions were taken against the Germans who were living there in that land portion. And on 1st September 1939, German troops stormed into Poland. On 3rd September, Britain and France declared war on Germany. Prime Minister Chamberlain made a public announcement that everything he had hoped for had crashed into ruin, and thus the World War II began. So all these were the reasons for this Second World War, and no one was there who can stop this World War. So all these were the causes behind this Second World War. So even some nations tried to stop this world war, but all in vain. And finally, in the year of 1939, the Second World War was started. And only up to this was there in our this times reduced syllabus. So watch this video, try to get the topics. If any confusion is there, you can message me. And meanwhile, try to revise the previous chapter also and this one also. Thank you.